Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is another episode of Maintaining Frame, number 55. What's
Mm-hmm.
left out? The BBC's most suspicious edits to Andrew Tate's interview.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of background, first of all, hopefully my camera doesn't freeze or something. And if it does, don't worry about it. But let me see here. Are we live? Yeah, it's okay. It's working. All right.
Okay, good.
So
At least we got that.
yeah, that's something, isn't it? So here's what's going on. I came across this interview with the BBC, and
Mhm.
the
Oh, it's doing the rounds, right?
yeah, it's been
They're
doing the
talking
rounds,
about
but I
it?
didn't really look at it because I didn't know
Mm.
like what to expect, and
Mm.
so but there was another, like, I saw a clip from it, and I thought it was kind of fascinating. So I went and looked at the BBC interview, which I have
Mhm.
here. It's about 12 minutes long. And then I
Mhm.
learned that there is a full recording of the entire conversation, which is about 40 minutes long. So
Mm. Mhm.
from 40 minutes down to 12 minutes.
Where have we heard this before?
Yeah, I know. And that's one of the reasons why I thought this would be worth going through and looking at. So and I got to tell you, so
Mhm.
I know that people have thoughts on Andrew Tate. So I'm just gonna say for the record, I defended him, and I still defend him, not because I'm a fanboy or anything like that, because I didn't even watch a lot of his content. I just feel like whenever the media attacks someone, they're
Mhm.
probably somebody worth defending. That's just like, that's the media's fault, nobody else's. If that's how you're gonna be, then I'm gonna like stick up for
Mhm.
whoever it is you go after, and I don't care, right? And if it turns out I'm wrong, then I'll just shrug and say, oh well, not that it mattered anyways, right? But
Well, let me maybe put a bit of a nuance on it.
okay,
The media is not going after Andrew Tate for the reasons that we might call him out for, which is exploitation of young men. I mean, they don't even give a crap about that. They're going after him for allegations, well, alleged, because they haven't been proven, and he hasn't gone through. As far as I know, he hasn't been convicted of them. And they're trying him for gross misogyny, essentially. And they're trying to smear everybody who is part of the manosphere, even men's rights activists and advocates who are not part of the manosphere, but we get lumped in with the manosphere, even though the manosphere doesn't want us. And so it behooves us to take a closer look, shall we say. And considering that the tactics that the media uses against people like Andrew Tate, it also
mm-hmm,
uses against us. The reason why I said, oh, that's very familiar, is because we have experienced the same thing. We have experienced having an hour and a half long interview reduced down to 5 minutes of 10-second takes,
yep,
completely taken out of context. So, and that's
yep,
why one of our rules to live by is always be recording whenever you deal with the media. So it's interesting to look at how they distorted what he had to say and what he actually had to say, because this is their modus operandi that they do to everyone. And
yep,
let's see if their charges of felony misogyny or felony patriarchy hold any water.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a couple of time codes. I thought I'd play a
Mhm.
little bit of the beginning because I want you to see, like, what this BBC interviewer is trying to do. As I think she is framing this, where she is going into like hostile enemy territory with a man accused of sex
Gross
trafficking and rape
misogyny.
and misogyny and all of these other things. What was
Hmm.
that?
I said gross misogyny.
Yeah, just like
Most misogyny
the
of
worst
an
possible
unesthetic
offenses.
nature. Yeah, the
So,
worst possible offenses in our
mhm,
patriarchy that puts men's benefit ahead of women's.
exactly. And like, not calling him a saint, but I think that he handled this interview really, really well.
Mm.
And even though what we're looking at in terms of the BBC interview, which is this 12-minute video that you guys see on the screen, It's actually, there isn't that much that you can hold against him. So all they can do is try to frame it emotionally and not let him go off, because that's what he does in the full cut, which I have right here. Fortunately, Tate had the entire thing recorded, while they were doing this. So yeah, always be recording. You know how it goes.
Always be recording.
So now you can see it in its full context. Okay, what was that?
Before we get into it, I just wanted to ask you, was there anything in particular that you noticed between the two? A big difference?
Yeah. The woman that's interviewing him, she is extremely hostile. Like, you can tell that she is seething with hatred for this guy. And the reasoning for it, by the way, has more to do with not necessarily stuff that he's accused of, because he's made it very clear that he's going to beat this, and that, like, none of these accusations are going to stand and all of that. Well, I mean, he's confident basically in the his ability to beat this case, but rather she is afraid and angry about what he and others like him, people like us, what that means for, like, the kind of, like, overall framing of the relationship between men and women, and men's identity, basically, because that's one of the things he speaks out in defense of. So, and she thinks he's dangerous because he smokes cigars and drives a fancy sports car, and those things are cornerstones of misogyny. And I'm not kidding. She says that in this.
Does he have baby seal skin hubcaps on his car?
No, he uses them to clean out his ears. He has
down burgers and throw the wrappers out from styrofoam containers. Yeah,
and plastic can 6-pack holders in the ocean to strangle turtles.
Which he hasn't cut. He hasn't cut the rings.
Yeah, no, of course not. Why would you do that? So, she is. I mean, like, you can tell she is the worst. And in my opinion,
is sort of a Kathy Newman flashback.
It sort of is, yeah. And actually, there are points where he says, this is really hurtful because of the shit that she's accusing him of. And she says this in the same way that Kathy Newman did to Peterson, because she doesn't think that men can be hurt. She doesn't think that you can make allegations against men, try to destroy their reputation, and that would actually have an effect, right? So
yeah. But, men should be able to cry and be able to feel like they can be vulnerable. They just don't have anything to cry about. And they can't be vulnerable in such a way that if the woman in question feels uncomfortable or has to change, that just can't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So, you want to get started?
I look forward to yeah. Okay, well, let me do a little bit of business. So,
all right.
If you would like to send us a message, if you have any comment on anything that we say during the show, please go to feedthebadger.com and put it through feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. It's the very best way for you to send us messages, because we get whatever amount that you send free and clear, no YouTube increasingly large chunk that YouTube takes. And you get to send a larger message, not that much larger. I think the hard limit is 2,000 characters, which is like 10 times a tweet. So you get a larger message, and also you can avoid YouTube's esoteric censorship system. We'll say that. We'll say esoteric.
Sure.
Okay, so that feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Please send some through so we know that you enjoy this content and want more of it. And it's also really critical for us to cover some of our expenses here at the Badger Cave. So please do feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And Brian is back! Yay!
I am. I guess my camera is being goofy. I have to unplug it and plug it back in. I don't know. What
you
to
need
do
more
about
misogyny.
That.
You need like a cigar.
Yeah, I should. I get a cigar and a Bugatti. Can somebody help me out?
Ermine pimp jacket.
Yeah.
And like fedora.
All right. So let's start. I'll play a little bit of the BBC interview, and then I'll play a little bit of the other one. I'll try and go back and forth that way. So, all right, here we go.
We are doing an interview with you because you're facing some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Rape, human trafficking.
Yeah.
And also because
Can I
there's a
just
great
say
deal of...
something really bitchy?
Yeah.
Look, lady, your hair, you have stylists on staff. Okay? Comb it. Get it styled. Like this,
No,
you have
she's-
no excuse. You have no excuse. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand hair woes. I have hair woes. My hair is a mess. I try my best. It remains a mess. Doesn't matter what I freaking do to it. I have tried shampoo, conditioning again, conditioning some more, all kinds of other things, and it still is a whatever it wants to do.
You know what I think is
Basically,
going
like hair
on here? I think this is a tactic. She looks like she's not made up at all. So it's almost like I'm not getting dolled up for you, Mr. Misogyny guy
combing your
who
hair,
hates women.
you know,
You
like, just
chauvinist for having standards.
combing your hair so you look professional. Like that doesn't occur to her. I mean, I'm not saying she has to be fully made up.
I don't know. Maybe it's a British thing. But yeah. So she starts
I
off.
just rolled onto the set looking like I came out of the
rolled out of bed.
rolled out of bed. Rolled out of. It doesn't even look like looks like she rolled out of like one of those really adorable little British forests.
Yeah.
That look like they're out of a
Storybook.
A storybook.
Yeah.
But she was just sleeping on a tussock in the middle of a meadow.
Yeah.
And then she just decided to roll into this. Okay. All right. I've insulted her hair enough. But...
That's enough. Okay. Let's so she opens up with, you have been accused of these things. And of course, her tone suggests it's just true. You can't deny it. You're basically guilty, even though none of this has gone to trial yet.
Of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people, on women.
I don't think the concerns about the things I say.
Yeah.
All
go
right.
ahead.
Yes. Yes, we know we only care about women, eh? Yeah. Only care about women.
Well, she's afraid that he's gonna get men to be like him, and that's bad for women. So that's what I think.
Okay.
But anyway,
I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Absolutely not.
Okay, let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Oh, just right out the gate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
next time you get an allegation like that, I suggest have you. No, absolutely not. Have you raped anyone? Oh, wait, you can't rape. You're a woman in the UK. How convenient for you.
Now let me go back a little.
Oh man,
I'm gonna go to the recording
here, Brian.
What?
So I can't hear you.
Oh, what? You can't hear me?
Uh-oh, I think we got technical difficulties. Oh, right out of the starting gate.
Oh my god. All right, we're gonna do something a little different.
Can you
Hold
hear
on.
me? I will message you.
I can hear you. All right, we're gonna switch it up. Can you guys? You guys should be able to hear me.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. So. Okay. So what I was gonna say is, now let's listen to the recording that Tate did of this, because right at them when she they cut it off like right here where she says, let's start with the allegations. There was actually a section of time there that was taken out. So I'll play a little bit of that.
They have on young people or women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media and the matrix as a whole are far more damaging than the things I say.
The concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence. The fact that I'm massively influential over the youth, and I understand that. But it's my influence as a whole which people are afraid of, not necessarily the things I say.
Let's start with the allegations.
So he explains, and this is taken out of their cut, that, you know, he understands that as an influencer, you know, he has like a young audience and that he like knows that that's kind of important, right? But they cut that out. Maybe they thought it was a little too much fat on that particular
yeah, it could have been
it could have just been for efficiency, but it gets pretty spicy a little bit later. I just wanted to set the tone. So
I do have something to say to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the powers that be, feminists, all of the people who listen to feminists, which is basically all institutions now, they have decided that men do not deserve their own identity. Okay?
Yeah.
They have point blank essentially said that the masculine identity is either criminal, or it's a mental illness, or it's the cause of all of this oppression of women. Every time we identify something that women aren't getting currently, that's of course oppression of women. So the powers that be have said, no, you don't get your own identity. We don't want to give you anything that we wouldn't, because if we give men any value proposition that is exclusive to them, we have to exclude women from it. Maybe not all women, but for the most part, we have to say men are more likely to bring this to the table than women are. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that because that is misogyny. Excluding women from anything is misogyny, including anything associated with men and masculinity. So men can't have their own identity. They can't have their own unique value proposition in our culture, in our society. You just decided men can't have that. And you hide behind this idea that, oh, well, what's happening is we are freeing you from the man box, which is a prescriptive statement about what men are.
Yeah.
Freeing them, but you're freeing men to have nothing. And you certainly aren't doing this to women. Women still get to have an identity. Women still get to have a unique value proposition, even though we don't know what a woman is. But we know that it's valuable. And we know that whatever a woman isn't has to make sure that he takes care of her feelings. But regardless, we allow women to have their own unique value proposition. We even allow that femininity and womanhood is just basic, that's just humanity. You might as well say woman synonymous with humanity. Men don't get that. And now you're finding that the more you push men out of society, the more you deny them an identity in any relation to our society, that there are people like Andrew Tate who rise up and say, hey, men, you can have an identity. We can be regarded as, you can have positivity, something positive about you. Whether or not what he's presenting is necessarily true or good is irrelevant. He's presenting something. And men, anyone, any group of people prefer a negative identity over no identity.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have constructed this entire situation. And Andrew Tate is not the worst that's going to end up happening from this. Because the more you push men and boys and young men and youths out of society, the less they will regard themselves as belonging to society. And yeah, most of them will just retreat into basements and killing themselves. But eventually they'll get a point where you've pushed them so far out of society and you've made them such an enemy that they'll finally agree with you. And you won't be talking to Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson. You'll be talking to a Genghis Khan. And you won't be talking to him, my dear. You will be in a very unfortunate situation, let me say. Yeah. But you keep doing this. You keep pushing men's identity out of society. And you're astounded, aghast. Well, why are these men turning to a source of an identity? Well, because you're destroying it. Do you think these guys want to live completely skinless for the rest of their lives? You think that's what men are going to do? And they've constructed this entire thing. And you didn't like Jordan Peterson. I don't know why you didn't like Jordan Peterson. I don't agree with everything that he says, but certainly they didn't disagree with the stuff that I disagreed with, shall we say. Jordan Peterson seemed a bit more genteel. Now we got into Andrew Tate.
Well, it's almost like they don't care. They don't care how polite you are. They don't care how well you communicate. It's so like an Andrew Tate he's like a bulldozer. That's what we need, and that's what he's doing. Peterson probably would have been a little bit too compromising. So this is what you get, and you know what? I'm okay with it because this guy earned a lot of my respect in this interview. I didn't watch a lot of his content. But by the time this was over, I was like, okay, this guy is the top G to me.
And before Jordan Peterson, you had Warren Farrell.
Yep.
You had the Mr. Rogers of men's issues. So kind, so gracious, so forgiving. What did you call him? What did the people on this side of the aisle call him? A rape apologist. I mean,
incest-supporting rape apologist.
Incest-supporting rape apologist. This is just their playbook. They just open it up. Flip it open. Oh, you're this, because You're pointing out something that is purely logical. Men are not going to live the rest of eternity with no identity. And if they don't get it from your society, they will construct their own, and you won't be part of it. And the positive and more upbeat aspect of this is that their society will simply be more successful, more positive, more inclusive, because that's, and I mean inclusive in terms of ideals, thoughts, that kind of thing, you know, and you just won't be part of it. The worst aspect of this, and that's what will happen if resources become super scarce, well, that they'll simply become our era's version of the Sea People. If you don't know, the Sea People were the brigands who came in and basically stripped a lot of the wealth from the Bronze Age empires as they were collapsing. But there's some very tantalizing hints that these brigands were the citizens of those Bronze Age empires who just got tired of getting their harvests taken and getting nothing back. So is it stealing if you're stealing back what was taken from you? I don't know. But that could be our future. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm done my spiel. I'm done my spiel.
I want to play some more. This is the original. This is where she just starts asking him direct questions about whether or not he's raped anybody.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women for money?
Absolutely not.
But you have admitted using emotional manipulation to get women to work in the webcam industry for you.
No. We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely and utterly sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you.
All right. So there was another thing that was cut out here. So let me go to 144.
Oh, sorry. It's just hot as balls here now.
That's fine.
Like it's 30 degrees out. I know that's probably not a lot, but
That sounds hot. I don't know.
I'm facing charges. The first one you mentioned, the rape one's already been thrown out by a judge because there's no evidence of it. Secondly, it's very difficult for me to sit here and have a very frank and honest conversation with you while we're in the territory of Romania about a legal case that's going on within Romania. I have to protect myself. I've agreed to do an interview with you, and I want to be as honest with you as possible. But I can't incriminate myself in any way, and I have to be very careful with what I talk about.
There are no charges yet.
Correct, there are no charges. There are no charges, and I've agreed to speak to you, but I have to be as honest and frank as I can while also protecting myself and following my legal counsel.
So let's talk about what you've said yourself then. You have.
All right, I'm just pausing it there because there's a reasonably big chunk here. So, but he is basically saying, and I think this makes sense. Okay, so basically he's like, look, I can't go into too much detail. And she's trying to get him to like, you know, she's trying to entrap him, but also, you know, he has to worry about his case, which is ongoing. So like, you know, that has to come first, period, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He's like, look, you know, Romanian law is not like, you know, like the law in the UK or the law in the United States or whatever. And so I have to be very careful. And his lawyers are actually in here with him. They're like off camera. And occasionally they have to chime in and say, lady, you can't ask him that, right? So, it's not like, well, go ahead.
She's got such a air of self-righteousness.
Oh yeah. Like she is certain that she is the best person in the room.
Oh god, I can't stand that. Okay.
I know, I can't either.
Said on the website, for your original website for the Hustlers University, that you emotionally manipulated women to fall in love with you so that you could get them working in the sex industry for your financial gain.
As I said, I have to be very careful with what I say, but let's put it this way. No women are coming out against me and accusing me of doing it.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. No, they're not. Yes, they are. No, they're not.
That's so productive.
What? Yeah, I know. It's stupid, but I think what he's saying is none of the women that he has worked with or dated or whatever have actually come forward and claimed any of the stuff that she's saying they claimed. And plus, by the way, what do you mean by emotionally manipulated? Because, like, is that a crime? Because if it was a crime, like, almost all women would be in jail. So like, this is the thing. They're being selective about what is considered emotional manipulation. Oh, it is when a man does it. When this man does it, in fact. But not when women do it, which is like it's their weapon. What was that?
He has these women in his thrall.
Yeah, that's the thrall argument. Exactly, it is. That's exactly
But
it.
this is also a factual statement. Are there women coming out against him? There may be women who have no relation to it. That's where I think it is at. Or are they genuinely women who are coming out against him? Like, this needs to be established.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
I don't know the answer to that.
She's claiming there is.
He's claiming there isn't.
He's claiming there isn't. So that's all we have right now. But
Who?
There's testimony.
But
from
even
Crown's
so,
investigator.
even if there were, they also have to be cross-examined.
yeah,
And we have to look at what they're saying for validity. So even in the effect that there were women coming out against him, that still doesn't mean that the charges against him are true. This is the thing.
yeah.
Like, we got to get away from this idea that an allegation is a conviction. I don't know how any woman in her right mind could assert this as a principle that should be the basis of a modern society. Like, the instant that comes out of your mouth, or even that what she's insinuating here, that if women were against him, somehow that means it's a conviction. Like, he's probably arguing it based on principle, because it's just like he thinks that she's saying something wrong, and he's like, no, that's incorrect. But really, not principle, but on a factual level, but on a principled level. So what? Okay.
No, I agree. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter because again,
Nothing is proven.
Again, they threw him in a Romanian prison for what? Like there's allegations, but he didn't get a trial. He didn't get to be heard. He wasn't able to bring forward a lawyer. And when he created enough of a fuss, they put him on house arrest, which is where he is now. So it doesn't matter, like, if he did emotionally manipulate women to sleep with him, because first of all, emotional, like, manipulation, whatever you call it, is not illegal. At least not yet. I'm sure that this woman would love for that to be the case and only apply it to men. So that doesn't matter, right? And I think, regardless of what you think of him, I think he was treated like garbage by the Romanian government. Absolute garbage. So we'll see what happens. Like, maybe it's all justified, but I have my doubts. I seriously have doubts.
Investigation.
The current investigation, which I cannot discuss, which I know intimately and you don't, I can tell you right now that the women who are in this case file, there are 2 American women who have been caught already admitting they're lying, and then nobody else is accusing me of anything.
To begin with, it's very common in cases like this that the alleged victims do not always see themselves as victims.
Well, that's very interesting. It's actually extremely
Yeah.
What? Okay. But the allegation of criminality is based on the idea that he manipulated these women into doing something that they No, you don't get to do that, lady. You freaking chauvinist. You don't get to decide for other women whether or not they're victims. Okay?
Yeah, she's not just doing that, but she's saying just because women, like, if you ask a woman if you were a victim and they say no, I don't think so, that doesn't mean they weren't. That's her argument.
Yes.
Right?
She's deciding for other women whether or not they're victims.
Yep.
Okay?
And those women's opinions don't matter.
Yeah, I hate that. This is true chauvinism here. This is taking away a woman's rights for her choices to be recognized as her choices. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely 100% loathe patriarchy.
Theory? Conjecture?
Not theory, conjecture, not even conjecture at this point. Patriarchy con artistry.
Yeah.
Patriarchy sales pitch, whatever. Because it takes away the perception of women as agents completely. Everything is now the result of a man's choices somehow, or the patriarchal prime mover's choices somehow. I hate that. More than anything, I despise that. It is awful. It is an awful feeling to have your choices taken away and ascribed to someone else. This is really nasty stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's chauvinistic. And you don't have the right to do that, lady. You don't have the right to do that to other women. Women make their choices. They make their choices, and they should stand or die by them. And that is respect. This isn't respect. Okay?
No, of course
This
not.
isn't
No.
respect. All right.
All right, let's play some more.
Interesting, because if I was a matrix-controlled organization and my goal was to slander somebody and try and destroy their name, you're telling me that they've chosen a crime which, one, is heinous, of course, because it damages the person's credibility, and two, you're saying that even if everyone else involved, if you have 5 people and everyone's sitting there saying, no, nobody's hurt anybody, we like Andrew, we've all worked together, or we're friends, etc.
That's not what everybody's saying.
No.
Let me read you some of the testimony from the current investigation.
Can I finish, please?
One of the witnesses said...
Can I finish, please?
You're not answering the
Can I
question
finish,
I've asked
please?
you. You're not answering the question
I am answering the question. You're
Let
saying,
me read you the testimony of one of the witnesses.
you're saying the people who are involved in this, even if they say they're not victims, that they're still going to try and attack me and
They
pretend
are
they're victims.
treated as victims by the case that's ongoing.
So she's making an appeal to what? Some like the judgment of people that are conducting the investigation, and she's saying, well, even though we haven't proved it yet, they are still considered victims of you, right? And so it's not logical. And what he's saying is, like, even if a whole, like, you know, group of people that were all there when it happened agreed that everything was consensual and it's all fine and nobody's a victim, it, like, according to her logic, it doesn't matter. Because they could still be a victim, and they're just too stupid to know that they're a victim, you know? But also they respect women.
You don't respect women that way. That
No,
is like,
of course not.
No, you don't respect women as individuals if you do things like that.
Yep. Yep.
Saying that, one of the witnesses says...
We can't go into the case. The case is open and active.
Well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution, by the case.
We have,
Whether or not you feel like you're a victim, we will treat you like one.
Yep.
Whether or not you think or feel like you're a villain, we will treat you like one if you're a man.
Yep. So that was that's a section right there. That section is cut out of the BBC version of this one. Okay. So what was that?
Oh, I said okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna just go right into the next thing.
You absolutely and utterly, I've never hurt anybody, that the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated, and I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system, and I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Let me read you then what you have said about what you have done.
Sure.
You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think...
I don't know why YouTube is doing goofy shit, but but yeah, so she's saying that, you know, he supposedly wrote this thing this one time about like going on a date with a girl, getting her to fall in love with him, and then like getting her to do cam shows or something. None of that's illegal. Those women, they can make decisions. This is like, you know, like every other thing, right? If you choose as a woman that you're going to go on a date with this guy, then sleep with this guy, then when he says, hey, let's make some movies or whatever, if you say yes to all that, that's your choice. He doesn't have magic powers. And plus, I don't even know if all of that is true. But even if it was, it doesn't matter. It's not illegal, right? Like, women are adults. They make choices. So, I don't know. That's my thought. I think that she's trying to, you know, construct something in a way to destroy his reputation and you know, just make him obsolete, basically, because he is I mean, he's like, to her, he's the same as Jordan Peterson, as Warren Farrell, as us. There's no difference. So there's no point in like trying to say, oh no, we're not like that. Like, that doesn't matter to these people. They don't care. So you have to stop caring too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think.
They have a playbook. They trot it out. So we're determining whether or not that was accurate in this case. You know, whether or not he's distasteful to us is irrelevant to whether or not what she's accusing of him is correct or reasonable or accurate. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
All right.
But we're just repeating stuff, right?
Yeah, I know.
Personally said, I think
that's exactly what you said on your website.
No, I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. Doesn't mean I've said it. And again, once again, if any female on the planet has a problem with me, I strongly recommend her to go to the police and try and pursue me for criminal charges. I'm actually such a nice person that I've never had anyone come at me.
The BBC has spoken to somebody since your arrest who says exactly those things, that with you it's all manipulation, there's an ulterior motive to everything you do.
So apparently there's somebody named Sophie who we don't know what she looks like. We don't know her full name. We don't know anything except that she is the primary witness. And Tate doesn't know. Well, he claims to not know who it is. I'll say that much. But it doesn't sound that legitimate. And
well, yeah, because anybody could come out of the woodwork and say,
yeah,
"Yeah,
anybody
I know
can
that
just
guy."
exactly.
That's
Anybody
why you
can
wait
come
for
out.
the end of the trial. Like, you know, and even when a trial happens, you still have to use your common sense and look at the evidence. All right, because there are miscarriages of justice. I experienced one.
There are, absolutely.
And so did Johnny Depp.
Yep.
A huge miscarriage of justice in the UK judicial
Absolutely.
system. Okay, so
All right.
let us.
What?
I want to actually get to some meat. This is all just.
I could jump ahead to the spicier parts. Okay, well,
let's get to a spicy part.
Okay.
Give us the spice. The spice must flow.
Your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website.
Oh, for the love of God, they're still arguing
It's the
about
website you've
this.
taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken down.
No website's been taken down. My website is the same. It's been the same for a very long time. You are accusing me. I'm guessing. What you're trying to say is you're accusing me, and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of, and that I'm emotionally manipulating people.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated
Are you,
people.
for the love of God, they're still arguing about this?
Well, let me just go to. Wait, 9. What is this? 10:36. Right here.
You emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
And I'm asking you about that.
Absolutely not is the answer. I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before,
Andrew
the only other person
Tate, you're
who's been
not.
found despite absolute
Okay,
rigorous-
that's not going to happen for you. That is not going to. No.
Well, the media is never gonna say they were wrong.
No, they
What's
are
gonna happen
never.
is if he turns out to like beat it, they're either gonna find a way to make it look like he got away with something that he shouldn't have, or they're just not gonna say anything at all.
Nope, they'll either go silent. I mean, look at Johnny Depp. And his case is really cut and dried. Like, he was the abuse victim by her confession, and the media is still mealy-mouthing its way into creating a cloud of noxious gas around him to try to pretend he was the abuser. You know, and he refuses to play ball, as well he shouldn't, because he was the abuse victim. And people around him, the ones who understand and actually look at evidence and make decisions on their own, are standing by him. And he seems to be very grateful for that. Andrew Tate's not going to get what he says he's going to get. They are never, ever going to admit they're wrong, especially not in his case. If they wouldn't admit they're wrong when it comes to Johnny Depp, they're not going to admit they're wrong when it comes to Andrew Tate. Not in the least. The media does not like to admit when it's wrong, which is one of the most frightening things about the media. It doesn't want to be beholden to anyone. It is the most undemocratic institution on the planet. And incidentally, the real lesson from Weimar Germany is that everything that happened afterwards was due to the influence of mass media constructing a narrative.
Yeah.
100%. And we don't acknowledge that. That Nazi Germany is actually a symptom of an out-of-control mass media.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's hear the rest of this. This is all stuff that was not in the BBC version. They took all this out.
Okay, let's hear it.
Destructive levels of investigation and prodding into my life is this imaginary Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist. And if you were to find any single other man on earth and try and analyze his life forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
It's not just...
Thousands of women have come out in my defense. Thousands of women have come out in my defense, and you've not mentioned that. Thousands of women come out in my defense.
Because the problem is when women accuse you of serious crimes.
Okay,
and emotional
well,
manipulation.
let's agree that thousands of women... let's agree that
It's not
thousands...
the problem that some people...
Stop! Don't sneak that in, friend.
What?
Emotional manipulation is now a serious crime?
Yeah.
It's not a crime anywhere. Oh, God, they're going to make it a crime.
Well, the UK is on its way to doing that.
They're going to make this a crime. Like, this another 10 years into our dystopia, emotional manipulation, alleged emotional manipulation by men towards women will be a crime.
Yep. Yeah, so he's saying, look, there are thousands of women that will vouch for me, and you're not talking to them at all.
Okay.
So
I don't care about this aspect of the conversation at all. And why? Why do I not care? Because it doesn't matter how many women vouch for him, and it doesn't matter how many women accuse him. What matters are the facts. That's it.
for sure. But he's making a point about what she's willing to investigate and not investigate. That's the thing.
Yes.
Say you haven't done it. It's a problem that some people say you have.
Thousands of women come out in my defense, and as we stand right now, we have an open criminal investigation. The people who are involved in the criminal investigation are saying we're not victims of anything. Andrew's fine, he's never hurt us. You're saying no, I have the opposite to that. I have to counter that. I have someone called Sophie with no face, a fake name, who we've invented, and she's not accusing you of anything criminal. So I don't see the whole point
You
you're trying
say
to
you
make here.
manipulate women. They say you manipulate.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's like, she's not even like this person you guys made up, which we don't know if it's made up or not, but he's saying it is. It doesn't matter because what she was claiming he did isn't even criminal. So then again, why did they throw him in jail? That's the thing, right? Like, why did they imprison him if that's the case?
I'm going to say something really controversial. This is why women are generally not allowed part of the judicial system. Because she's trying to construct a new law against men regarding emotional manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably, like, the entirety of the people on her side of the crevasse, the chasm, as it were, they will most likely succeed at some point in the future to making this law.
Yeah.
And good Lord, will the world look like hell as a result of it?
Yep.
How can you give any kind of responsibility to a person who can offload all of the consequences of that responsibility onto men? Okay? Think about it. How can you have a leader like that who cannot be held responsible? How can you even allow a person like that to have a vote? You either take responsibility with your powers or with your citizenship, quote unquote, privileges or rights, or you have neither. Choose. Otherwise, you end up with a fast track to civilization destruction. Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Manipulate women. Why wouldn't people think you do?
I'm like, do you think I'm manipulating you?
I'm asking you about the testimony you've given on your
kind of
website.
What?
Well, people say that you hate women. That must mean you do.
Yeah. Or do you manipulate women? And he's like, well, am I manipulating you? And of course, she avoids the question.
Testimony that you've given
You've
about
printed something off that you found on Reddit, and you're going to sit here and say that makes me a bad person. And I'm saying that you should know better as a journalist and do some proper journalism. Let's investigate the fact that
I think
thousands.
you should answer my question properly.
I already have, and we should move on. She's just trying to start arguing.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say.
Okay, so essentially what I'm hearing is that he has an influence on all of the young men that they don't give a fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they basically said, you don't have an identity, you don't have a right to an identity, because that would be taking something away from women. So we can't do that. So you get no identity. And
Yeah.
we're freeing you from the man box. We're freeing you to the void. Like, yeah, the atmosphere of the earth is so limiting. Let's shoot you into space. Won't that be freeing? Like, and these men, okay, lady, one of the most powerful instinctive drives, as far as I can tell, is for men to have some kind of unique value proposition to give society and women. You have decided you are going to tell men that they have none. And now men are turning to someone else, maybe the wrong people, maybe people who really don't understand this process, and they are giving them so much influence because they have that need that you will not provide for. Someone will provide for it. And if you don't like Andrew Tate because you didn't like, what was it? You didn't like Jordan Peterson, and you didn't like Warren Farrell, and now we're at the Andrew Tate. Okay, who's going to be the next guy? And the next guy after that? Because that need is not going away. It's not going away. You cannot shame men. Well, hell, you can't shame men. Once you've gotten rid of their identity, they're in the void. They're untouchable. What you gonna shame them about?
Yep.
Hey? Don't be a real man. But there's no such thing as a man. Okay? So there will be, you are constructing the very podium this man is standing on, and there'll just be another one, because this need is not going away. And if you can't satisfy it because you insist that there can't be anything unique to men, that women don't do as much, some value, something that men provide society. I mean, it seems obvious to me when you look at the course of society what men have provided, and it's most likely due to some unique aspects of the masculine psyche, thus the masculine identity. You will not acknowledge any of that. They'll go somewhere else.
Yep.
And that instinct, my dear, that instinct is what constructed everything you enjoy in the first place. Mm-hmm. And now that it's constructed it, you've said, well, we don't need it anymore. It's embarrassing, or it triggers our insecurities as women for men to have something, or have something recognized that they do or are or behave in such a way that's valuable. We don't want to do that. That means that we have to be lesser, not lesser, different, but in their sense, lesser than men. Okay? You don't want that. You don't allow that in your theoretical, I don't even want to call it theoretical, in your limbic, the lizard, like the most base level
instincts.
Of
I don't know. Yeah.
Venal envy. You don't allow it in that substrate of chauvinism that you call a thought process. You don't allow it. So they're going to have to go somewhere else to get it. And unfortunately for you, that's what built everything you enjoy. So you may just in the process lose all of that as well. And of course, I can hear the feminists on Twitter and even the traditionalists on Twitter yelling at me right now. Men owe it to women. They should get nothing and continue to use their lesser, their greater risk tolerance to build everything that we enjoy without any sense that they are owed a thing, even a positive identity or recognition that masculine greater risk tolerance and masculine approach to wanting to see the consequences of their actions in the greater world, to build in that sense, is what's preserving our culture. We don't even want to do that. We don't want to do that. You should be doing this for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the world, the future will not be female. The future will belong to anyone who successfully captures that instinct again. Okay? The end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, I got a super chat. Sifu in Training gives us $5 Australian and says, just wanted to say you guys do awesome work. Thank you, Sifu in Training. I don't know if there's any super chows, but you might have to look at them.
Yeah, I did. That we do have one super chow from Meredith G. Thank you, Meredith. Gives us $5. HBR maintaining frame 55. Thank you, Meredith, for indicating which show. That really helps us out. Tate may be a scumbag. Allegedly, maybe he's not. But it is important we defend his due process rights. His story is one where he has been denied due process. Yes, actually, that's a huge part of this that isn't even being talked about. He was arrested and put in jail before they even charged him with anything. That's insane.
Yep. Absolutely.
Also,
and it's not unique to like Romania, by the way.
No,
so
it's
not like one of those things where it's like, well, that country's over there, and no, I mean that shit happens in the West too, and there is definitely a push to make emotional manipulation illegal. I mean, it's already started in like Britain, like in London, or not London, in England, Ireland, and Scotland. They all have like wacky ass laws.
Yep.
So just bear in mind that's not unique to Romania by any stretch.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. They've done some of that in Canada too.
Yeah.
So.
Geez. Okay. So anyway, to finish the super chow. Also, sloppy hair and appearance is unprofessional, even if it's a way of asserting control over the person you don't like. It has no place in a job that requires one-on-one camera like a TV presenter. Yeah. Like,
no, she looks. She looks like she just didn't she just didn't care.
I know I resemble that remark, but I do actually really try with my hair. I don't know. There's just some skill set that I don't have.
It looks fine from here, but your screen is really small, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just
Albert Nada Retro. Oh, did you finish Meredith G's thing?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Is there another one?
Nope.
All right.
So just before you get into that, please send those super chats so we know that you love us.
Yeah, appreciate
send us
that.
love. feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Make sure you give us a comment. Tell us what you think about this. Help us out with paying the bills each month. And go on with the super chat. Sorry.
All right, so I got a super chat from Albert Data Retro, gives us $5.50 Canadian, and says, Tate only cares about how much money his webcam models can make him off those men. He is like most fresh and fit acquaintances, they hurt the MRM. Okay, first of all, you don't know what he cares about, so don't assume. Sorry, but that's bullshit, and you know it. The other thing is that it doesn't matter what they associate with. The media is going to associate them with us regardless. So there's no point in saying that this guy's not one of. It doesn't matter, dude. Have you guys not figured this out yet? MGTOW, MRAs, incels, PUAs, red pillars, whatever. Fucking Jordan Peterson types. He's not even in any way associated with that.
He hasn't even gotten it as bad as Warren Farrell. What the hell?
No, I'm saying there is I get that maybe you just want to be mad, but just drop it. Okay? Andrew Tate is not our enemy. The BBC is our enemy. That is for fuck sure. Okay?
Yeah, but
that's the enemy.
Is that we keep acknowledging that he has done these exploitative things. However,
yeah, sure. I mean, but
buyer beware.
Sure.
We're not going to say that Andrew Tate is the guy you should be following, the
nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that.
And yes, he said problematic things, but this is bullshit.
Yeah, look, let me just put it this way, okay? You don't like him. Okay, fine. What should we do about it? Tell me what we should do about it. And if it's something that, isn't completely tyrannical, then I'll look into it. Otherwise, we're doing what we can do. We're basically letting you know this is what we've heard. But that doesn't matter. But to the BBC, to this bitch, we're the same. Because it's all about what works. It's not about who's a better MRA than who. That doesn't matter. Stop it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. I mean, it is legitimate that he has been or at least allegedly exploitative towards young men. Yeah, that's legitimate. And again, I'm not going to defend him on that score.
Well, sure, however, I guess, but let's just compare. Let's just compare, okay? Whatever he's doing to what every teacher does to boys in class, to what every university professor does, to what every activist does, to what every media personality does, to what every a politician does. To what a single mother does, to what a daycare worker does. Can you even compare the scale? Anyway, I mean, the only reason why a man might be exploited is if he has nothing else to turn to because everything else is shit on him. So who are we really going to blame here? I mean, dude, just reach out to men and help them if you feel this way, okay? Do the best you can, but
I mean, they say
if you're really concerned about who's doing real damage, who are the people who are driving men to suicide, it's not Andrew Tate. I'm sorry, it's not. At worst, he gets you to pay him to look at his OnlyFans. Well, guess what? There's all kinds of OnlyFans cunts out there. You don't have to buy his, but men are buying it anyway. You should be asking yourself why. Why are they doing this? Where does the need come from? He's not doing that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. I'm just saying, it's the scale isn't even close. It's not even close. What these people are doing is on an institutional level from the moment a boy is born. He gets a piece of his penis cut off. That's where it starts. And then from there, it's nothing but shame and damnation and propaganda and just shitting on men for 100 years. And Andrew Tate comes along and people are like, well, it's basically the same thing. It's not the same thing, guys. Get some perspective. You can dislike some of his practices and fine, sure, but at the end of the day, that you're I think you're just using energy in a direction that is not it's futile. It's so small compared to this. I'm sorry, but like I'm not jumping on the fucking let's all hate Andrew Tate because he's not doing men's rights the way we think he should be doing it bandwagon. I'm not doing that. Let him do his own thing. I don't care.
And the other thing is that we get accused of the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't matter, these people. It doesn't.
No.
We could be like we can be more clean and more like soft-spoken and more like comforting than Warren Farrell is, and it won't matter because I already showed us they don't care. So like, why it's time for you guys to stop clutching your pearls, grow a fucking set of balls, and say something. And if you got to be like him, then do it because it's getting him attention. It's working. So maybe that's something. Maybe that should be the lesson. Maybe you should try to be more offensive, or at least like direct. I don't mean like offensive for the sake of it, but like stop worrying about how these people might see you because they've chosen how they see you already. You don't even have to present anything. They're going to do what they're going to do.
The other thing is that they might, like there is a legitimate concern about his practices. Yes. But this is not what we're calling out, okay? We're calling out his treatment by the media, his treatment by the Romanian justice system. We're not even calling it out. We're just pointing out, holy crap, imprisoned without charges. Okay,
yeah,
that's a little skeezy.
Well,
and then
it's
all of this.
That's that's the thing. Like ultimately, that's the reason why I wanted to respond to this. It wasn't so that I can like sit here and have to fight people about like what they think about Andrew Tate. It was to put the focus on what the BBC is doing because that's the important thing. Because at the end of the day, like, Andrew Tate could be, he only blew up in the last year. He could be gone in the next year, but the BBC will still be there. And the CBC and the ABC and all of the fucking alphabet media corporations in the United States, it's all going to be there. So that is what we should be focusing on.
Also, I would like to point out that in my parlance, this woman has engaged in far more misogyny by demanding women occupy a particular psychological role that excludes women's individuality and individual choices. If you don't recognize women as individuals, what are you recognizing them as? Except as puppets and your own passion play in your head. Like that's, and I don't even think she conceives of the fact that it's entirely legitimate for a woman to be something other than what she believes and what she does. Yep. And that's the real misogyny as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the absolute pig-headed refusal to see women as individuals, as individual people with their own ideas, and not that you have to respect everything women do. No. Women should be judged based on their behavior and their choices. That's the essence of recognizing women as individuals. They shouldn't be given a blanket respect, because what does that even freaking mean? You should be delivered respect based on their integrity. Based on their integrity. That's it.
Yeah.
Based on their integrity. That's what
women's respect is unearned. That's why they don't actually like value it. Because they don't. Because they didn't earn it.
That's a good point. But I value the respect that I get. I hope I get, like, as a result of my actions that I've taken to follow a path that I consider one of integrity. Okay? And the respect I get for pig-headedly pursuing issues of meritocracy, trying to get better at a craft. That's the kind of respect that's worth having. This respect women is crap.
Yeah.
It's meaningless. I don't want it. I don't want your respect if your respect is given to me in the same way you give respect to Kamala Homolka or Carmel, whatever her name was, or Andrew Hurd, or any of a number of unbelievable pissants.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, let's.
It's very simple, but anyway. One more super chat from Albernator Retro gives us $2.20 Canadian, says, I've got no love for the BBC either, so to be clear. Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but you know what? I'm just going to move on. I'm going to get too heated. All I'm saying is try to keep this in perspective. There's a big difference between the mainstream media and Andrew Tate. there's a big difference. And I'm sorry that this might sound like, you almost have to like stick up for him if he's in the right, but maybe that's what the point is. Maybe you should be sticking up for people regardless of what you personally think of them if you know they're being unjustly treated.
Yes. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, I will 100% tell young men. Okay, buyer beware when it comes to Andrew Tate and his cam clams. Okay? Just be careful there. But this is bullshit.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
For your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very...
All right, I'm pausing it there. He's going to give his answer. But she's building a case, at least in this instance, on the idea that, well, look, all these people, they agree with me. Look at all of these people. They all have, like, they're all official. There's, like, government and activist organizations and intellectuals and cops. They all agree with me. What do you say to that? They could all be lying or misinformed.
Was racist. Every system that she's appealing to is a racist and sexist.
I thought it was, but apparently not in this case.
But the other thing is, what about how society... What about the messaging towards women and how they treat men? Is that, like, just a non-starter? We don't have to care about that. Really? That's just we don't. Yeah, that's a free action.
Yeah.
And what is it he says? Like, I don't even know. Does he say something horrible? Like, can we see the main? What his response? Did they just chop up his response and try?
I think they did. Yeah, because I have this down as a clip. So let me play a little bit of the BBC one. I think you can actually kind of tell when it cuts off, but.
Very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive.
The reason we're asking you about...
So that right there where he says, I believe my impact in the world is positive, they cut it right there and they cleverly had her sound like she was talking over him, but he was literally saying more. So I'm going to go to where that is. All right. Which is, let me see.
They can do that because they have two different
12 minutes.
Cameras.
What?
They have two different cameras, so they can switch back and forth and do sneaky crap.
Yeah. So, well, and he was talking when she started talking over him, but the way that they did it made it sound like she was cutting him off right at the end of that sentence, but that's not true. So here, I'll play this.
In fact, if you were to read the comment section of nearly any video I post, especially by the legacy media, 95% of the population agree with me. Most people know that the things I say are positive. Legacy media as a whole has lost all its credibility in the last 3 or 4 years. Nobody believes it. And it's a shame, it's a massive shame that BBC come here and try and push and purport this idea that I'm a dangerous person. I'm anti-drugs, so I've never pushed drugs or any, I'm anti-drugs, I'm anti-violence. The UK is facing a knife crime epidemic, and they're going to sit here and say that I'm the most dangerous man in the UK.
You have said you're the most dangerous.
Well, I'm just pausing for the banana there. I am playing this at a slightly higher speed.
That's
and
fine.
I've color shifted some things. So what was that?
Okay, I just wanted to say welcome to the club because I was declared in a court. Well, I was alleged to be a terrorist.
Yep.
Remember that moment? Like what?
Yep.
With no credible anything behind it. In order to justify being evicted from a place that I paid to be in. And it was accepted as a justification, which was absolutely ridiculous. And yes, these individuals think it's more dangerous. Somebody who has a different opinion is more dangerous than somebody with a knife. I think it just speaks to how sheltered they are.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, let's play the rest. This is a long bit right here. So they cut out like a good 7 minutes in this after this question. That's not in the original. So
Dangerous man in the world.
I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world.
You've also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. I'm glad you find that funny.
I find it funny that you're sitting here saying that I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world, and you believe that's... When did I say that?
I'm asking if you believe it.
No, you said you're the most dangerous man in the world. Is that some kind of proof that I'm dangerous? Am I Dr. Evil now? I'm telling you that it's very upsetting that you're going to sit here and that certain organizations in the world are going to try and pretend that I'm the biggest force of evil on earth when I'm genuinely a force for good. I'm genuinely a force for good. And the reason they're doing this is because of the massive influence I have over the youth, and they don't like that I'm telling the youth to think outside the matrix and ignore things like.
All right, I'm just pausing again for the banana. I don't think this will be a problem because this is like a small channel called Gentleman Masterclass.
No. I really doubt that this is copyrighted. But
yeah, I mean, I think the BBC is going to be weird about it, but I don't think that this one is. So
yeah, we can probably maybe safe with it. But also, let's direct people to the Gentleman Masterclass for the original.
All right.
Make sure that they get some traffic.
No, for sure. And I included a link to the BBC interview and this masterclass interview, the full length one. So.
Like the BBC, which come here with loaded questions and false narratives and try and paint innocent people as guilty.
You said women's intimate parts belong to the
Okay, can I'm just gonna, because there's new people and people who haven't heard of my Odyssey. So the Mary Sue published a set of provable lies about me after I got evicted from a convention, basically for pissing off a bunch of mean girl feminists. That's it. That's all I did. And I pissed them off by Gamergate at the time was a big thing, and some Gamergaters had supported me getting to the convention, so I gave a thank you on a flag that I created. And I went to a Women into Comics panel, and I said, I don't like feminism because it makes women out to be victims and ignores the ways that men are, have trouble or suffer. And then that was it. That's what got me booted out. And then they proceeded to lie about me. They said that I engaged in harassment at the panel I went to, and that I had engaged in fraud on my convention or my contract, that I had misrepresented myself on my contract. My contract had my legal name on it, and anybody could listen to the panel to find out if I had engaged in harassment. The convention never actually made that panel public. We recorded it. And we put it on the internet. There was no harassment. I asked to speak to a topic they brought up. I spoke to it, and when they told me to sit down, I did. That is not harassment. They made that out to be harassment. Then after the instigator, or one of the main instigators, got me kicked out of the convention, or her friend got me kicked out of the convention, her collaborator got me kicked out of the convention, she went back and arranged for an article to be published in the Mary Sue with those lies, which was then uncritically broadcast by the media in Western Canada. All of this stuff, provably wrong. And they just repeated it verbatim. Yes, the media lies through its teeth. And believe me, they have a lot of influence on the judicial system to make sure that nobody ever is allowed to call them out for it. And it's like I said, it's the most undemocratic institution around now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my little rant. But yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more super chows? I can't look at them, so.
No. Well, wait, we have one more.
Send a super chow, guys. feedthebadger.com/justthetip, please.
Okay, observation about this propaganda sends us $5. I have never heard about Andrew Tate until the propaganda media started talking about him. This is a decent clue to point to when propagandists start spreading propaganda. Anyway, here's $5 as support.
Thank you.
Yeah, they spread propaganda whenever somebody comes out and actually expresses any kind of care about men. I guess he engaged in unsavory business practices.
I mean, look at it this way: there's a lot of people in the manosphere, and when I say manosphere, I include like MRAs and MGTOW as well. So I'm not like separating it out. There's a lot of people, and mostly it's men, but not exclusively. But the media came after Tate because he blew up, or the media came after Tate and then he blew up. It's hard to see, which came first, but I think they were like, this guy is saying some stuff that we can use against him, so we're gonna do that, and that made him that put him on the top. but it could have easily been anybody else. I think that, you know, if anything, it was just, and also, you know, like he's an athlete and he was like a kickboxer or something, and you know, he did all these things, and a lot of men were looking up to that because they saw all of the things he achieved personally. This is outside of the stuff with women or whatever. And so like that was what they were looking for. And if men start gravitating towards a figure like Peterson or him, then the media's going to come after them. That's my point.
Like specifically, a figure that accepts the idea that men have their own identity.
Yeah, that men really matter. As they
really
are.
hate that.
Yes,
I want
they
you to
hate
notice
that.
that. That is what they despise. The idea that men can have their own identity. Because it's something that women can't have.
Yep.
And they do not like that. In this society, a patriarchy that is arranged for the benefit of men at the expense of women, we absolutely loathe anything that women don't have access to, including the gender identity of men. You know, the behavioral suite that men bring to the table. We don't like that. Men can't even have their own identity, their own point of view, their own unique makeup in this world that is a patriarchy, expressly constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women. Like, I say that over and over again, because everything that we do and say and breathe in society contradicts that we are a patriarchy for the benefit of men at the expense of women. Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
I said that if a woman marries a man, she takes his last name and traditionally the man gives her away. I've been pushing traditional religious beliefs, because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. If you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years. If that's your point, if that's your narrative you want to push,
say that
good
men
luck.
should be able to sleep with a lot of women outside marriage. That doesn't sound very religious or
That's not what I said they should be able to. I said a lot of high-value men, a lot of rich men do it. And then we discussed at length on podcasts why rich men do it. And we also discussed why women decide to be unfaithful. It's not a gendered argument. We discussed unfaithfulness as a whole. What are the reasons and motivations for men? What are the reasons and motivations for women? Because you...
I'm just pausing it there again. So she's trying, you know, because there is this thing that sometimes you'll get guys that are manosphere guys, like, I can't remember the name of the fellow that passed away not long ago. That was saying, you know, like, high value men, you know, can cheat, right? Now, I don't, but the thing is, it gets interpreted as they should, but I don't think that's the intent. The intent is they can, which means that, like, if they do it, women, they should be aware, you know, because if they're going to pursue, Kevin Samuels, thank you, if they're going to pursue high value men, then that's going to, like, and they're going to exclude all other men, then that's going to put them in a position where there's a man that could just play the field because there's so many women that want him. And of course, they're all going to want him exclusively, but, you know, he doesn't have to do that. And I think that's just true. You know, it's not right or wrong. I mean, like, that, you know, what you think about that doesn't really matter. The fact is it can happen. And that women also do it, which is what he's saying. He's talking about, you know, infidelity in general, not as a gendered thing, right? What were we going to say?
Oh, it's an is, not an ought.
Yeah, it's an is, not an ought.
I get into that on Twitter, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's ises and oughts, and there are ises that men really don't like either.
Sure.
I know this is an is that women don't like. There are ises that men don't like. Like, for example, I got into it on Twitter recently. It was just this vaguely weird thing. I think some red pill types or something just sort of floated over into my Twitter, and then our lanes got confused. And I just basically said, you know, the reason why women dominate men emotionally is in part, so I guess it's not the reason, but it is a reason. It is in part because men wish to define themselves in terms of the consequences of their actions. Okay, that's a very masculine approach to existing in the world. You want to feel like your actions are powerful, and if you're a good man, you want to feel like your actions are good, right? Well, if you have a whole group of men who all want to feel that way. They want to see themselves primarily in terms of how their actions affect the world around them and how they benefit society. You're going to need a group of people that represents those being benefited. That is women. And the women's sexual world, or the women's gender expression, tends to be more towards recognizing how things impact them internally. You can see that. They're constantly doing that, okay?
Yeah.
Male, how does this make me feel? Okay? So you have those two corresponding, but if you want to be a man and you want to understand yourself in terms of how your actions have an effect in the world, and a positive effect if you're not just looking at meritocracy, then you need someone else to play the sounding board, okay? And to inform you whether or not your actions that you are taking are good. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, sure.
And you can't be another man because other men don't want to be men's sounding board. It's actually really difficult because you're essentially asking another man to play your damsel. Like, hey, Joe, how can I save you today? Joe doesn't himself wants to define himself in terms of how he is, his actions have a positive effect on the world, right? Even Andrew Tate is like, I'm doing good things. I'm being positive. I don't want to say even, but you can see that even in Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Even is the wrong word, but you know what I'm talking about. Andrew Tate right here is an example. He wants to feel like his actions have a positive effect, a big positive effect on the world. They're powerful and they're good. Okay? Every man wants that. Okay?
Yep.
So when one man wants another man to play that role for him, that man doesn't want to play the role of being sounding board for a man. So you got all of this group of individual men, none of whom really want to be a sounding board of morality for another man. Well, where is that going to come from? It's going to come from women. This is an is. This is just a hard and fast rule of psychology. It's going to come from somewhere. Someone has got to provide your moral consequences, and it's going to be women if you don't want to do it for each other. Okay?
Yep.
And that means that when Harry's like, hey, Joe, how can I save your ass today? What are your weaknesses that I can help you with? Where are your victimhoods? How can you damsel for me today so I can feel big and powerful and you can feel like you're served? You think that Joe's going to be like, yeah, I'd love to do that. No. That's something that men find very difficult to do. So it's going to come from women. All right?
Yep.
And that's just an is. And I say this, and there's always some guys who are like, oh my God, what are you talking about? I'm like, ugh. It's just a logical progression, okay? Either you damsel for each other, or women are going to have to damsel for you, or you're just going to have to be sociopaths who don't care about how your actions affect people morally. And even Andrew Tate obviously wants to feel like he's doing good things in the world. So there you go. And that's just an is. And it's an is that it seems like a lot of men have trouble with. They have trouble with comprehending it. You want that, if you want to be perceived primarily in terms of the consequences of your actions, women will have control over how those actions are perceived.
All right, I got another super chat from Richard Bier for $1.99, and he says, how different is Tate from Jack Murphy? Well, Tate is actually doing stuff. And I never, look, I had Jack Murphy on the show. He refused to come back on, supposedly because I was too fat, and I guess he was ashamed to, have spoken to me. That bothered me a little bit. But what he does, if he makes money doing what he does, I don't care, because we also ask for money. So whenever someone profits from something they're doing, like a service, I don't take issue with it. That's not a problem. It doesn't mean anything sinister.
As long
if
as
the men think that he's providing value and they give him money, or if women think that he's providing value and they give him money, that's their choice. Yeah. As long as there's no coercion going on, I don't care. Now, if it's a scam, then I'll warn people. But at the end of the day, they still make the choice. So, if that's what you're referring to when you say how different he is, then that's what I would say. Now, if you're talking about something like, other ways, well, I've never seen a video of Tate, putting like a butt plug up his ass on on a camera, so there's that. And, Jack Murphy's beard is a bit more luxurious, so I will say that too. And that's basically it, so.
Yeah, half dozen of one.
Yeah, six of one, half dozen of the other.
Okay, the thing is that, about that, I mean, there are some people who do this stuff, as long as people think that they're getting value out of it, that's their business. There are some people who are doing this stuff, they're distorting statistics. I'm talking about a specific group of people in order to lie about social problems like domestic violence and rape in order to make money. Those people are grifters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Those people are grifters. People who are legitimately exploiting people who are vulnerable. Like,
you could say they're emotionally manipulating people.
People are not vulnerable because they're women. Maybe if they have a severe addiction, if they have mental things that are going on with their lives that reduce their capacity, yes, you can exploit children. You can exploit people who are mentally incapacitated by whatever, drugs, health issues, whatever. You can't exploit women as a class. That's what this woman is asserting. That you can just say, yeah, he exploited women as a class. Okay, what do you mean by that? You mean that women are in class mentally disabled or or child? Because that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to accept, he exploited that woman. He emotionally manipulated that woman. I'm not going to accept that because that requires allowing the belief that women are somehow vulnerable, and not physically, mentally and emotionally to men. And yes, they are, but vulnerable in a way that men aren't correspondingly vulnerable to women.
Yeah.
That means that women, relative to men, are children, animals, or the mentally incapacitated. Is that what you really want to assert, lady? Because that is, I'm not going to get behind that. That's not something, you're not speaking for me, okay? I'm not mentally, let's take that to its logical conclusion. Women are mentally children. Women are mentally animals. This is what she's asserting, not Andrew Tate. This is what she's asserting when she says, you emotionally manipulated those women. No, you need a qualifier there. You need special needs women, you need girl, you need female animal. Because when you say you emotionally manipulated those women, you are resting on an assumption that women are less mentally and emotionally capable than men. I'm not going to buy into that narrative or framework. It is 100% bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay? All right,
let's keep
and as
going.
long as Andrew Tate doesn't buy into it either, he's less misogynist than you, lady.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
have no time to actually, because you have no time to actually watch my content, because you have no time to actually watch my content at length and understand what I'm saying, you just come here with a small snippet which has been provided to you on a piece of
Three
paper.
times doesn't make it true.
No, completely. You don't have a clue what I say or what I talk about. You never watch my content. You have small pieces of paper, small clips on a piece of paper, and you're trying to pretend I've said evil things. And then you're going to say I'm the most dangerous man in the world, which is truly laughable.
You said that, not me.
Okay. Do you believe I'm the most dangerous man in the world, Lucy?
I'm not answering your questions.
Well then we need to change the dynamic of this interview because, and I'll make this clear, I allowed you into my home, I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority, you're not the police. I don't respect the BBC, I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals, we are people, we're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo, and that you don't have to answer my questions, is disingenuous because I don't owe you anything.
asking questions and you answer
But I don't owe,
however you
no,
want.
this is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear.
Okay, true. 100%. He is putting that out there. Yeah, and you don't have any authority over him in this context.
Well, I mean, he has to do that. Like, again, this is like, I think, when the Channel 4 lady interviewed Jordan
Kathy
Peterson.
Newman. Wasn't it Kathy Newman?
Yeah, Kathy Newman. And he said,
Newman.
that's really offensive, right? To her. He was trying to show her the kinds of weaponry that she was using and making a point. And Tate is doing the same. He's saying, you can't come into my house, right? And I gave you the opportunity. And at the beginning of the video, they said that the BBC had been repeatedly trying to get an interview with him, like over and over. They were calling him up, they were emailing him, etc. And he finally allowed it or whatever, for whatever reason. And he's like, you're not going to come in here and treat me, act like the Gestapo and get me to answer all your questions, and you're not going to answer any of mine because we're supposed to be having a conversation. This is supposed to be a dialogue. And that's true, because if you let her ask all the questions, then she will frame everything. And of course, in the final cut, she did her best to do that. That's why all this we're listening to, is not in the final cut, the released interview.
Okay,
because
so
it will make her look like garbage, because she is.
He's the most dangerous person or man in the world. Well, he's probably saying that because of the influence you say he has over the youth. And
well, but he says that he never did say that. She said that about him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, even
again,
if he did say it, like, is it true? Like, that's a really good point. Like,
well, he's dangerous to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's.
All right.
Clear, and that doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to answer your questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor. But you come here with loaded questions. You're trying to paint a narrative of me which is negative.
I'm asking you
and
about
that's
things
fine.
you've said that people are concerned about.
And that's fine.
You're
not going to sit here and say you don't answer my
This
questions
is
because
so
you don't.
pointless.
What?
Like, I'm sorry, my autism is showing. Like, you had that long discussion with Karen about it. There is nothing here. There's just two people. Like, and again, I'm not saying that she's right, but I'm saying, can we actually get to a discussion of something?
Well, no, because it's the BBC. Like,
But
they
this
don't
is
have an
utterly
interest in
pointless.
having a discussion, Allison. They don't. They just want to, like, get him to say something radical, and then they're going to clip that and put it on the internet and say, look at what kind of person this is. They don't want a discussion. They've never wanted a discussion. Like, none of these outlets want to have an actual discussion. They have a vision of what their reality looks like, and they want to frame everything in that light, and that's the goal. That's why they wanted to do an interview. It's not because they wanted to hear his point of view. It's not because, like he said himself, you didn't watch any of his content. You haven't looked at his website. You haven't gotten any information. You've only gotten whatever you found on Reddit. You know, and whatever little, like, viral clips were floating around that essentially paint him in the worst possible light, and that's what you're going off of. And of course you are, because first of all, there's a lot of people who hate him, and I think irrationally, and they do that. And then there are people like this, that basically they look for anything they can use, you know, however they have to interpret it. I mean, this is just the way they are. So yeah, we're not going to get, like, a constructive conversation. It's just not going to happen. I can promise you that.
It's infuriating.
It is, but yeah, that's the way it goes. I mean, you know, like, what happened when, even when it appears cordial, they'll reframe it. I'll name a couple of examples of people that I know personally that have experienced this. So we talked about Allison and her experience at the Calgary Expo. Then there's, well, I did get to talk to Jordan Peterson once, so I'll mention that. Then there's Warren Farrell, who I've also met. You know, and the protesters came out and they were saying things about him, and you know they didn't read his books. You know they never saw his interviews. They just were told by the media, by academics, by intellectuals, by feminists, by activists, whatever, this is what he is, right? Even Big Joel, I think it was Big Joel, he did a couple of videos where he reviewed the Red Pill, you know, Cassie J's movie, and he felt the need to essentially he directly accused Warren Farrell of being, like, a weird, like, incest supporting pedophile rape apologist because that's what he heard, and he doesn't investigate, he doesn't ask questions, he doesn't care. Why? Because they're MRAs, they're the enemy, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I can to attack and destroy them, period. Like, they don't want a discussion.
I get what you're saying about now about okay. This weapon that the BBC is using against Andrew Tate, we cannot let it gain power over our thinking, and we can't let it gain power over our decision making. So we need to, and we're not going to support Andrew, or at least I'm not going to support anything that Andrew Tate's doing that's actually exploitative, or if it is actually exploitative, give the people a heads up about that. But this weapon needs to be taken out of the BBC's hands. Period. And we do that not by bowing to it, but by challenging it. They don't have the right to write reality. That completely unaccountable institution like the BBC does not have the right to create reality for me, for you, for Brian, for Andrew Tate, for all of the women who are not apparently not accusing him of being emotionally manipulative, and everybody else in the world. They don't have that right. And we have And right now, we have absolutely no oversight over their bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So they are completely unaccountable to the people. Completely unaccountable to the people. And they presume for themselves the right to tell us what reality is. No,
Yeah.
you do not get that right.
Yep.
And I know in some sort of vague, wiggly, wobbly, subconscious way that this all started with all the freaking gender shit where we were like, oh no, men don't really have their own reality. And then it's just filtering down to everything. But I could not articulate it. It's somewhere in the intuitives of my brain. But can I just say something completely shallow, since this is all completely shallow? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What the hell is up with his suit?
Oh, I don't know. He's got like a Miami Vice thing going on.
Yeah, I've
Like
never seen a suit like that. Like it's so form fitting. It like has no drape whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like a superhero costume. Yeah, I know what you mean.
it's like he
Who
walked
designed
out
that suit? Jack Kirby?
he walked out of like the City of Heroes, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember City of Heroes. Yeah.
Yeah. Wearing that suit. It's sort of a little bit latex. It's like
it's just a skin.
yeah. Yeah, but she's like, I don't know what she's trying to do here. Okay, but anyway.
Anyway,
I just wanted to
go ahead.
I wanted to entertain myself briefly. Okay, can we get to, is there, okay, Brian, you've watched all of this. Please tell me, just give me a little sliver of hope.
Are we gonna, okay, do you want me to just jump to like the most
a bit of sunlight in the
crazy?
gloom?
No, I don't know. Like, look, I'm just gonna be honest.
Is there
Like
any need to this?
No,
whatsoever?
well, I mean, there is in a way, because it's all about the way that Tate is handling the situation. It's not necessarily like that this woman is going to walk away and say, oh my God, I was wrong about this guy. And I think I'm going to look into men's issues. And I, no, that's not going to happen. Like,
okay, Brian.
Yes.
Okay. That's not what I'm asking for. I know that she's a lost cause. I'm pretty sure that she does not understand the concept of agency as a woman. Like she just literally doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
And that means that, ironically, she sees herself 100% in terms of being able to manipulate men to do shit for her. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I know she's not going to avow that. Do we ever get to hear anything that he actually believes or says?
Well, I mean, yeah, he says stuff that he believes, but I don't know if anyone in our audience is going to believe him because there are all these assumptions about his character. So,
yeah,
like, what is if he does say a bunch of stuff, and people might just be like, yeah, but, he's a grifter, he's full of shit. So, I don't know what the point is, because everybody's got their biases already. But here's what I'll do.
But I'm just asking if there's not what she thinks about this situation, but anything that about what he believes about men and boys in their situation now.
Yes.
Anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we just look at that? Because, no offense, I am so it is too hot here, and I gotta either go get myself a glass of water or go die somewhere.
All right.
So I would really like something that actually responds.
Well, I'll jump ahead to 2449. This is not on the BBC version.
Okay.
So we'll just play this bit.
Good? No, thank you. If a man broke into your house, wouldn't you want your husband to protect you?
There's a difference between conservative values and emotional control, coercive control.
We're talking about protection now, and I'm saying if someone broke into your house, would you want your husband to protect you?
It's not about conservative values or protection, it's what you're demanding in return.
Oh, good Lord, stop this, please.
I don't know if he would say I'd protect you or die for you.
I can answer this. Lady,
do you want me to play this or no?
You want Andrew Tate to protect you from feeling bad. All right? You want Andrew Tate to uphold your worldview. You want men to protect you in ways that men never have in all of human history. Well, they probably have, but not in such a systematic and potentially being written into criminal law way. Of course you want your husband to protect you if someone breaks in. Look at you. You'd probably faint if you saw a mouse.
Well, okay, so I got to give you some context. So in an earlier clip, which was also on my list, she says that that you have been recorded as saying that a man, should have like authority over his woman, right? And of course she presents it like, a man should own a woman, but that's not what he's saying. He says, look, if men are expected to protect women and lay down their lives, like if some guy, some maniac comes at you with a knife, I'm expected to step in the way and like fight and fend him off. In order for men to do that, which is something that men, by the way, have an instinct to do. So it's not like, oh, just don't do it. No, most men are going to try and do it anyways, right? Because it's in our nature to do that. So if that is the case, then a man cannot protect a woman, which is a woman wants a man to make her feel safe. He can't do that if he doesn't have any authority over her,
Well,
right?
let's put it another way.
Okay,
Look at-
put it another way if you want.
Bodyguards and people who are hired to preserve your safety. If they say you can't go somewhere, you can't go there. Okay? Or you go there without their safety in that case. But here's the thing, like if a man feels like you want to go to a place where he can't provide safety, then and you feel like you should be 100% able to define him by your protection, and he shouldn't be able to get out of his side of the contract, then you should accept that his authority over you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want your security to be your own business, okay, then men you can take that authority back. But if you want men to be defined by whether or not they take a bullet for you or take a knife for you or go out and protect you, then they should define where you can go, and because there are places where they can't protect you, or maybe that protection is going to be very costly. All right? That's the point.
Well, yeah, that's the point he was making, but she's trying to distort it. So then he's giving this example, you know, that like you're like if men are going to be expected to sacrifice and die, then maybe they should have authority so that, you know, they can like mitigate that risk. Because because this is what feminism wants, and we've talked about this on the show, right? Feminism wants women to have complete freedom and no responsibility. And men have all the responsibility and a significantly reduced amount of freedom. So, you know, you can't be responsible for something and not have authority over it. That would be like if I brought my like toddler over to a babysitter and I said, I'm gonna leave my toddler with you, but you can't do anything no matter what that toddler decides to do. You can't intervene because you don't have authority over it. Well, if the toddler ends up dead because he climbed up to like the third floor and jumped out a window because he wanted to see what would happen, you like that then I get to hold this woman accountable? Like that's the point. Like and so it's not a bad thing. You know,
responsibility without authority doesn't work.
Responsibility without authority is slavery.
Well, and it also doesn't work to protect women.
No, it doesn't.
Because, use your example, if men have the authority to understand the dangers that women are in, or the responsibility to understand and act on them, but not the authority to do so, they can't protect them. Period. Like men literally cannot protect women they don't have authority over. Maybe that's the better way to put it. They can't. Because you if you go somewhere where he can't offer you protection, then you are by definition not being protected by him. Okay?
Yep.
So it's like one or the other. But here's the thing, and when people balk with this idea that feminism creates a situation where men have all the responsibility. Well, what is patriarchy conjecture? But men have all the responsibility for everything everywhere. Everything negative. And then what is all of the condemnation of any kind of standard to hold women to? Okay? You can't hold women to any standard. You can't expect them to be loyal to their partners. You can't expect them to put their children's interests first if they choose to have children and not walk away from a perfectly fine husband and father. You know, you can't expect women to take responsibility for the consequences of their actions. Okay? You have an excuse for everything. Well, there you go. That means you want women to have an excuse for every consequence and not have to take responsibility for anything. And you want men to take responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
It's right. It's written right into the ideology, the concept of feminism and patriarchy, and the fact that women apparently don't even have responsibility over their own thoughts and choices. Okay.
Yep.
Can I just I'm sort of suffering here.
Well, I'm almost done with this clip, so we'll stop
Okay.
it in the next 20 seconds.
If someone broke into this house right now and was a homicidal maniac, I would expect me and the other men in this room to stand up and face them while you and the other women in this room could protect yourselves. I would actually believe the men should go and engage the attacker. I believe that. And even though I don't know you, and you've come into my house with a hostile agenda, and you've come here to try and make me look bad, I would still stand up to protect you. I would still stand up to protect you because I believe that's my role as a man.
I am asking you about things that you have said that have caused major national organizations, including the police.
Oh, freaking, we're back on that.
Yeah, she doesn't
even
want to
engage.
No, she's not trying to engage. So I don't have the sound clip because I didn't get that far because this took a long time. But he does bring up that he talks about men's issues. I don't watch his channel. I don't know to what extent he does, but he does say it. And so I think that's worth something. Okay. And and again, he's got a lot of followers. He's got a lot of fans. A lot of men, young men, they're looking for somebody to tell them it's okay. You matter. You have value. I want to help you. They're looking for that, and there's a lot of people out there trying to do that, and this one happens to be one of the more successful ones. But that's all that's required.
Actually,
and this woman from the BBC has absolutely no interest in doing that. No interest in helping men. That woman we were responding to, like Hannah Cox, which we did a couple of rant circus on, also no interest in actually helping men. None. It's all about pushing the relevancy of feminism. In her mind, it's all about the brand. I got to protect the brand. I got to make the brand relevant. I'm going to do that. And this woman, it's like, I got to demonize this guy because he's too popular. Too many men like him. I don't like that. I can't control him. We have to demonize him. And, I think like the amount of aggression and the amount of hostility that people like that get only makes me wonder what it is that they're saying. Because I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of his content. I mean, I've seen clips here and there, whatever. I know he puts on a show. I know that he's got this thing with cigars and like people giving him massages and shit like that to look like he's an alpha. But I don't care. That's all window dressing. Like at the end of the day, I don't care about that. That doesn't matter to me. So I think the BBC is extremely hostile, and it doesn't matter what who the person they're talking to is or how they present themselves. It doesn't matter if you're Warren Farrell or Jordan Peterson or Paul Elam, who also got butchered by GQ, and Sage Gerard, who only you old school people might remember him, and so many others, right? That got shit, and Allison, Karen, so like, who cares? Like these people don't matter. They're just hostile, and they're hostile because they are in danger. They're afraid. They're afraid that men are going to realize that they do matter and they have value, and that they have value just for being men, and they don't want that because then they can't control them. So I don't know. That's just me. So. I got another super chat from Albert Nader Retro for $11 Canadian, and he says, I go by stuff he said on Fresh and Fit. I don't care what the news says. He deserves due process, yes, and BBC shouldn't shred interviews either. Check out his F&F appearances for yourself. I mean, sure, fine, whatever. Look, if he says some stuff that's edgy, or whatever, okay.
We're not
I don't know,
it.
Again, I ask, what do you want me to do? That's what I want to know. What do you want me to do? Because if it's just make a bunch of response videos and tear him a new asshole, I mean, I guess, but I don't think it's that important, personally. Yeah. So.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, the question is, does he do more good for boys and men, young men, than he does bad? Who knows? I don't know. I can't really answer that, but I do know what I see here. And I see the same weapon being used. And for me, it's the weapon that's the real issue.
Yep.
All of the other stuff, be it as it may, the fact that they are distorting what this guy is saying, This is an interview. I have no idea what this guy is about based on this interview. At all. That's the stupidest. It's not how you interview.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another super chow.
All right.
Michelle Emmerich Winberg gives us $5 and says, I've said this to my girlfriend as a chess analogy. The reason why the king doesn't move anywhere isn't because it's hated or disregarded, but because it's too important to lose. If there were no players and the pieces moved on their own, you can bet your ass that they all huddle around the king and prevent it from moving. In more extreme cases, like those countries where they really hate women or something, that doesn't really happen, by the way, they'd even hit the king into knowing its place because they know theirs in the front lines to take the bullet. Even if the king could move in any direction, turn once, and take 2 pieces in turn, this would still be the case. Yes. It's simply, if you want men to value you more than they value themselves, then you're going to have to expect the whole suite of it, right? That means that men are going to want to have the authority to protect that value, period.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then take on the full citizenship responsibilities without flinching, without yapping about it, without whining, without making excuses. Take them all on. And be a proper citizen. And be the captain of your own fate. But because this woman is not, she's not the captain of her own fate. She sees men in terms of what they should do for her. But you know what? The trap of that is that you never see your life in terms of what you can do for yourself or for others, which may be even more important to a sense of well-being. Okay.
Well, that was the last clip. I mean, that I have written, that I had coded out.
Shall we
so
adjourn this for?
We can wrap this up. What?
More? Yeah. Do you want to do more for next time, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some stuff
I hope so, because so far, and I'm not saying this as a condemnation of Andrew Tate, Mr. Tate, but there has been nothing in this. I don't know, aside from him saying that he believes men should protect women, which,
well, it seems to me that, I mean, he does advocate that, and you can criticize that. That's fine, but then I think that's a fair thing to do.
Yes.
But the BBC, because he can't talk about the case itself because of the fact that it's still ongoing, and he doesn't want to be in a position where it would harm his case to talk about it. Then the BBC knew this, so then why would they send this person down there to try and get him to talk about something that could endanger his chances or put him at risk? Because if they manipulate what he's saying, or they get him to talk too much or whatever, then he'll have to deal with a lot more problems. And I think that not talking about it at all was the smartest thing anybody could do. What else could you do? So barring that, she should have had a backup in mind. Maybe she should have actually tried to figure out what he's really about. But he says,
do a real interview.
Yeah, like a real interview, because he says to her, well, you clearly don't watch any of my content. You don't go to my website. You don't do any research, and you're supposed to because you're a journalist. So the reason why the interview is not an interview is because she isn't doing her job. And the reason why she isn't doing her job is because she doesn't care to do her job. Because these journalists today, and they've been like this for a very long time, they have no interest in the truth. They only have interest in whatever contributes to their narrative. It's not even about getting clicks. I hear that a lot. It's you get a lot of clicks if you told the truth. When so you hate clicks are worth something, but there's a reason why everybody's archiving all of these websites now, because they don't want to even give you that. So yeah, it's not that. It's a narrative. It's a narrative they're trying to push.
What I would really hope for is maybe having the discussion of how to deal with the level of despair, honestly, because people on her side of the chasm have noticed, or they did another man box survey, and they found that almost a fifth of men have suicidal thoughts. But of course, it's because they're in the man box, you see. They'd be so much happier if they got out of the man box, which is a restrictive view of masculinity, and just had no identity whatsoever. Wouldn't that be more pleasant? Even though, like, a guy that I really respect called, I think, Michael McLuhan said that people with no identity, the existential pain of that leads them to violence. And that's something that you should really think about, okay? If men are getting no identity from your culture, if you treat them like they're an enemy or that they don't belong at all or that they're criminals, maybe one day they'll realize that they are. But they're criminals in a society that itself is criminal.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting, you know? So there might be that sort of end of the road there. But there's no space for just having the discussion of how to deal with this. And like I said, whoever figures out how to give men a sense of purpose and well-being as men, well, they're going to win the future. Because the future is not this. It's not condemning men who've constructed pretty much everything that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't. That is not a future proposition. Like, it's like, you know, like you go to an arsonist and they're like, wow, I'm creating too. I'm burning it all down. It's like, but you're burning it all down. That isn't creation, it's destruction. That's what this is. This isn't creation, it's destruction. It is decoupling. It's like you got a trailer and you got a truck. What you're doing, feminists, is you're decoupling the society you're a part of from its engine, from the thing that's pulling it and moving it forward. Okay? You're decoupling it. You're doing this.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that that's not going to end well for you, but of course you'll call me a misogynist.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, it's probably going to end well for whoever realizes, hey, there's a hitch there. And there's a person, or there's a man behind the wheel. It's like, well, what do I do now? Like, how do I take my consequences and see good in the world from them? How do I take my actions? Where are the consequences that allow me to see the good that I do in the world? And you're like, oh, well, I got something that you could pull, Mr. Truck, sir. That person's going to win the future, but not you, lady. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, okay. I think we're done, right?
Yep, we're done.
All right, so. Whew.
Are there any more super chows?
No, there's no more super chows. Okay, thank you guys for sending in those super chows. Very appreciated. You can always send after the show if you want to comment on anything or just give us a tip. It was very appreciated to know that you like us, you like this content, you support it, you want to give us the resources to continue it. And that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Again, I think that we really do, approach these things in a different way, even different from Andrew Tate, even different from maybe even other men's rights activists or men's issues advocates, you know, on a maybe a more fundamental level of the dynamic between the genders. Anyway, once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And back to you, Brian.
All right. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed. Be sure to check out the links to the sources in the description. The full length one I found a lot more interesting than the BBC edited version because, of course, the BBC edited version, it alters the context a little bit. Quite a bit. That the original version doesn't have. But again, this has happened. I forgot to mention Christoph Petgaz, who is a Title IX men's rights activist that works with NCFM, and he was on an episode of Jubilee, and that's where the men's rights activist Our Machines clip comes from, because Hassan Piker was responding to it. And, you know, if you listen to the full recording, it wasn't like the highest quality, but Christoph did a really good job. He got the whole thing, and he was dominating that conversation. But when you watch the Jubilee thing, he barely gets to say more than a few things. So just that, this is what I'm talking about. This is why these people are our enemy. If we can't put our ideas out there in a fair, and just way, then it won't matter who we decide that we're like going to treat as our enemy or associate with or not associate with or whatever, because they're going to frame us all in the same boat no matter what. So don't be naive. Like, just be prepared to fight in the battlefield of ideas. I don't mean like in real life. And, you know, make your voices heard, and don't worry about like all the other stuff. It's just smoke and mirrors. What?
Yeah, I said in Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
Battle
Yeah.
it out in Minecraft.
So check out the links in the description, and please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.